Just to clarify, I've read that you run a 4.39 40-yard dash, which is extraordinary. Why are you playing linebacker? Shouldn't you be a running back or a speed receiver? What is it about defense, about linebacker that always appealed to you?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I don't, never really heard of any, 240-pound receivers or running backs. So definitely, fit in more on the defensive side. But I used to play running back in high school, early in high school. And then I made that transition after my freshman year to linebacker, and then just been, playing that ever since. It's definitely the position has been good to me, so it hasn't let me wrong yet. So I'm just, sticking with it.
Ruben, how hard or complex is this Bear defense to learn, and how do you prevent all of the information that you're now beginning to process as a rookie? How do you prevent that from you reading more than reacting and not thinking too much?
Yeah, it's not really hard at all. Like I said before in a previous press conference that I did, I played some of the concepts in college that I'm being taught now under DA's defense. The only difference is, just schematically and technique-wise, he just wants the particular calls played differently and differently than I've ever played them, in 3, 4, or 5 years. So it's not complex to learn. Like I said, a lot of the same concepts and things that I've seen for over the for the past five seasons at Maryland, and I'm very thankful for the coaches that I've had at Maryland and the defenses I've been in, and it definitely prepared me to not only retain the information that I'm being taught at this level, but to go out and execute it.
It's your story is extraordinary because you mentioned Maryland. That's obviously Big Ten school, big time program. You're playing against some of the best players in the country, and yet you didn't get an invite to the combine, which is I've lost track, but there's like 300 guys invited to the combine. How surprised were you when you didn't get the invite, and how much did things change when you were finally clocked in the 40?
I was surprised a little bit. I obviously knew that, it wasn't going to be easy for me just to get in the door, just because, I've had to, go the extra mile a little bit my entire career, start from high school, all the way up to now. Just, put in the extra work, put in the extra time. I always knew that I was gifted and I had the ability to play at this level. But, obviously my path took a little bit longer than most of my peers, which is, perfectly fine. Not everybody's life path is going to be the same. But I was a little bit surprised. Like I said before, my first press conference here, I called the NFS twice.
Huh.
They told me no twice, just to get prepared for my pro day. So, once I got that call, I was like, well, I got one shot to do this. And then I was training with Test Football out of New Jersey. With Kevin Dunn and his staff, and Otto Bolden was Otto Bolden is the 40 coach there, and him and I have a very close relationship. And I told him, like, all right, man, I got one shot to do this, and he already knew that I was gifted in the speed department. I ran track growing up, and he was based out in South Florida around the time I was running in. We trained at Anson Sports Complex, so I had a lot of meets there. So he already knew a little bit about me due to that. But yeah, once I found out I only had that one opportunity, it was go time from there. No added pressure because it was, at that point it was just proving myself right. I wasn't really focused on proving others wrong. So
we're talking with Bears rookie linebacker Ruben Hyppolite here on The Score. Ruben, so whether it was getting ignored by the NFL Combine or the Bears getting criticized by an ESPN analyst for drafting you where they did, how much of that serves as daily motivation for you? And do you carry a little bit of a chip on your shoulder that you use for in a positive way?
I'm self-motivated. Obviously, things don't always go how I wanted to go, but it's not all about that at the end of the day. It's all about God's plan, and it's my job to execute that, and to just follow the plan. Yes, I have a chip on my shoulder. I've always had a chip on my shoulder, but it hasn't come from, any negative influences. And by negative, I mean just, doubts and hate and stuff like that. It's always been, self-motor, self-starter, just, me wanting to get better each and every day. Me having a high standard for my ability and for my preparation, and just me wanting to be the best player to play this position. Come 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years down the road. So that's where the chip and the quote unquote motivation comes from. But I mean, honestly, I'm self motivated. I show up to work every day wanting to get better, and I don't need any bulletin board material or any pep talk from anybody. I'm really self motivated and deeply rooted in my faith, and that's what carries me.
Pretty extraordinary, and we should let our listeners know that your 40 time, the 4.39, would have been the fastest time of any linebacker at the Combine had you been invited to the Combine. So pretty extraordinary that you ran that time. I know you said that you visited with the Bears. You came up here. I was really blown away by the fact that you're wearing a hat the other day at the podium, and you said that you bought it like 3 weeks before the draft. It had a grizzly bear on it with the word defense. Did things go well enough in Chicago that you thought you were going to get drafted? Did you know they were going to take you, or was that just happenstance that the hat ended up maybe fating you to Chicago?
Yeah, I mean, going back to that story that I told, I just like the hat. I was in the store. I was in the store. Like I said, I have a bunch of those hats, so I just, I got a little collection. I keep some of the hats and give some away to my friends, stuff like that. So I just like the hat. I thought it was cool. Obviously, the Bears defense in '85 was one of the best defenses that I've ever, known about. So that was my thought process behind getting it, just representing that. But when I visited Chicago on my 30 visit, it was a great visit. Definitely somewhere where I wanted to play. And I was hoping that they drafted me, and that I had an opportunity to come there, because everything is second to none. The facilities, the people here, obviously the coaches, the coaching staff is one of the best staffs in the league and that I've been a part of. And it's a lot of history here, as far as just not only linebacker play, but just, the team, the great city. Like I said, I'm from South Florida, so, I'm like about 30 minutes away from, Miami, which is a great city. I went to Maryland, so, DC was a great city for me in my time there. Obviously Chicago was one of the best cities as well. So, definitely have an appreciation for not only football and great schemes and situations, but definitely great cities. Because I like to unwind a little bit, and it was definitely good to get away from time to time. But when I came up here to visit, it was definitely a place where I wanted to play, and I'm definitely glad that I got the call from Chicago.
Want to ask you about a couple of sports stars who preceded you here, who might have some familiarity from the DMV, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area that you went to college at. Caleb Williams, obviously, I wonder what your awareness was, and did you have a relationship with Caleb before you arrived as a Bear? And then Matt Shaw, who was also a product of the University of Maryland, is a Cubs starting third baseman. Did you have any crossover or interaction with those guys before you became a Bear?
Yeah, so I knew of Caleb, especially when he was, coming to when he committed to LU. I know he had a chance to come to Maryland because Coach Loxley knew a lot about him. Obviously, Coach Loxley, his footprint in the DMV is a big one. So I know he has a lot of pull. Obviously, a great coach, great recruiter, somebody who I call one of my, biggest mentors and people that I can pick up the phone and call anytime. That's my guy. So I knew of him. He played my former high school a few years ago, and he kind of gave him the business a little bit. And then obviously Matt, I knew Matt. I didn't know Matt. I knew of Matt. I knew he was a hell of a baseball player. And he got called up recently, I think, to the Cubs. So I think we'll be there Friday. All the rookies we're going to be there Friday. So to catch the game. But yeah, I mean, like I said, a lot of talent from DMV, a lot of talent coming out from Maryland. It's probably one of the not being biased, nothing, but if you ask me, this is the best school to be at as far as opportunity. Not only in the classroom, you're going to get top tier education, but so it's a great city to network in and to find mentors and to you get the best of both worlds. You get all 4 seasons, so it's great.
What was it like for you to hear your new head coach, Ben Johnson, call you out as one of the guys that has captured his attention? You're one of 2 defensive players that he gave a shout out to a couple of offensive players. And it was interesting because he was asked the day before who had impressed him. And he was like, well, ask that again tomorrow and I'll let you know. And he had your name there. And I bet that was somewhat of a kick, even though you don't have pads on and you're not really knocking people over. You're obviously doing something right.
Yeah, when I came on my visit, Coach Johnson was the only, head coach that I met with who had a vision and plan for me as far as how he saw me, impacting or making an impact on his team. And he's definitely a coach that I connected with, in a short span, a short period of time. Obviously, the 30 visits are like, a day and a half. So, like I said, he was the only head coach that, had a vision for me, and really was excited about what I had to offer. Not only my speed, obviously, but just, my cerebral, like my ability to be smart, on the football field. And then, obviously the character aspect, but, yeah, I mean, it was great. Like I said, man, I go out there every day. Just want to get better. I want to be the best version of myself every day. That's my mantra. That's the vision I have for myself every time I come in the building, whether I feel like it or not. I'm just focused on making sure that I leave the field better than what I did yesterday or the day before that, and just continue to stack the days and just make the days count. I'm very big on that. So it was great. Obviously, it's OTAs, so it's not you can't win or lose your job in OTAs. I've been hearing that a lot, and it's all about just learning. We're all learning. All of us are learning a new system. We're just getting better, man. Just focus on taking the next steps that we need. So come training camp, come the season, we'll be able to dominate.
Great stuff, Ruben. Thank you. Really
best
wish
of
you
luck.
the best.
Great attitude.
Absolutely.
Keep it up.
Yeah, no doubt. I appreciate y'all.